And you're free to ask her any questions about college, about work, about her path or her journey. So I'll turn it over.
All right. Hi, thanks for showing me all of your projects. They're really cool. I wish I had done stuff like that when I was in school. So, can I turn this light off? Can you guys see this?
Yeah, it's the one right there. There you go.
So, I think you all know what an oximeter is. Is there anyone who doesn't know what that is? It's a device that you have in the doctor's office. You put your finger.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Why don't you try it? I'm going to pass this around. So this is a commercial oximeter that I bought on eBay. It was about $100. And I bought it to make a much bigger project. So here, let me put your finger in there.
Any finger?
Any finger. You wait a little bit.
Oh, cool.
So after it catches on, you'll get two numbers. And this number on the side is the ratio of oxygen to hemoglobin in your blood. Everybody that I've used this on, hundreds and hundreds of people, have been around 98, 99. That's normal. And then that's your heart rate. And doctors say that anywhere between 60 and 100 is normal. So the project idea was to build something that, here, let me pass this down. Everybody can play with that. The idea was to build a little structure that people could go inside, use this thing, and regulate their own heartbeat. So you'll see if you pass it around, if you concentrate, you can slow your heartbeat down. Just as you could go outside and do a bunch of jumping jacks and speed your heart rate up. And that's pretty impressive biofeedback on yourself. So I wanted to take that signal and make it so that you could really feel it. So I built a dome, and inside of this dome, there were flashing LED lights and a subwoofer speaker, a couple of subwoofer speakers. And so this project, when you sat inside of it and put your finger in it, you felt your heartbeat outside of your body. So I just brought that as a demo, and I wanted to show you guys some pictures of what this looks like. This is what inside of the project looked like. I took one of those. I had three, because the first one I broke totally by opening it. The second one worked, and that was backup, and I happened to have it to bring. So I opened it up. I hacked into it. I used one of the transistors that I had and put it onto one of the transistors inside of that that's connected to the beeper. So I saw some transistors here that people were using for switches. So any device that you open will have one of those things. And they all mostly have about the same, there's about 5 different numbers. You open it up, you see it, it looks like a transistor, and probably switching something. And you can attach to it and switch something else. So that's what this looks like when we set this up. This was our setup, and this is some of us inside of it. It was all solar powered also, so these are the 2 panels on here, each of those were 60 watts, and I had some batteries that were in the back. And this thing ran continuously for a week. This was at customer. So, you guys have any questions about it?
Oh, great, thank you.
Okay. So, anyone here have a cell phone? So this is a project that I just exhibited at Maker Faire in California. And this is a device that measures the strength of your cell phone. There's a lot of talk about cell phone radiation. I'm sure you've all felt if you hold it to your ear for a long time, it gets really hot. It's probably not good for your brain to have waves going right into your brain, which is why it's good if you have an earpiece. Or use texting, which is also just, you're keeping just your fingers, not your brain, next to where the radiation is. So there's just a lot of talk, and I wanted to see how it would be to capture the cell phone signal outside of the cell phone. You all see on your cell phone, inside of it, there's the bars that measure the signal strength from the cell tower. So this is a meter that's outside of the phone. This actually, I just think you guys may have designed this sort of thing before. It was much more difficult than I thought. I actually thought this would be a super easy project. I've been working on this since November. Capturing a cell phone signal. It's amazing how they work. The signal is so small. It's measured in picovolts. So, I mean, it's just incredibly small. It's incredibly difficult to capture. It's right inside of all the noise that goes on everywhere. So, this pass this around. Actually, why don't I just leave this here? So send a text or make a call and kind of be near the end of town. Let's see if this thing still works since I left this morning. There you go. You see this lighting up? So actually, why don't you move back?
Is that your hands in the way?
How far of a range you can get. And it's still lighting up.
So is the brightness proportional to the strength of the signal?
It is, because on the output I just have a resistor and the LED.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there's another version of this which doesn't look very nice and is very big and all on breadboard, so I didn't want to bring it. It works from about 8 feet away, and I'm actually working on getting it to work from like a classroom setting. So someday when people are taking SATs, for example, that a teacher will be able to know when
That's cool.
That's cool.
people are texting. But I actually will remark that in engineering school, for me, we were allowed to text, we were allowed to use the internet, we were allowed to talk to other people during testing. So it's really good practice to not cheat, but it's really good practice to be comfortable with asking questions and talking to other people. Any questions with this? Does anyone want to play it? Pass it around. Okay. So I saw someone with a Geiger counter box. Yeah, right? So are you building it?
Yeah.
Does it work?
Yeah, it works.
Does it react a few times a minute or something like that?
It reacts if there's a source next to it.
Does it react just for background?
Yeah, there's no linear radiation band.
Have you measured how often that is?
No, I have not.
So mine measure about 8 times a minute. I'm not using, that radiation detector that you have is a really awesome radiation detector. I designed one around the same time as that person designed it, so he just gave me one of his to play with, and I like his design very much. On Wikipedia it says that background radiation is about 8 times a minute, and that's approximately what I measured. And way back that was used as a random number generator. So interesting actually. So this was a piece that I built about 2 years ago, and it uses exactly that, the Geiger counter that I designed that sits in here somewhere with a whole bunch of other stuff. And every time any kind of ambient radiation showed up, this whole thing lit up. And this is L-wire. And is anyone here working with L-wire?
In the afternoon session, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Keep that word in your mind, because L-wire is awesome. No. No, but actually, a Tesla coil runs on much higher voltage. Mm-hmm. This also runs on really high voltage. The tube for sensing ionizing radiation runs at about 600 volts.
Wow.
Or 800 volts, and I think the one you have is at 850.
What I know is that, it's running at high voltage. I actually think I broke the back, but I never know the voltage.
Yeah, it hurts. Mine bit me a bunch of times.
It's a couple hundred volts.
So. Yeah, actually, Jeff designed that one. Yeah, I think this one is 850.
It could be.
Yeah.
It's high. I've touched his at Maker Faire last year, and I was talking to him, and I shocked myself on it once or twice, and so did he.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And radiation detector was my first engineering project ever. So I came to work at a lab, and the person who was running the place, he wanted to make a radiation detector. It was right around September 11th. So I had an actual product background radiation detector that an alarm radiation detector. And I took it in the subways, and I couldn't get it through the airport. But it was pretty interesting device to deal with. So after I built that one, I thought I'd make one that plays music. And Jeff has one also that plays music. Seems like we were on similar paths at the same time. So this one has 4 different sound cards in it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And every time background radiation hits it, it plays a different sound. So it's called Radiation Orchestra. It was exhibited at a few different art places. And yeah, it sounds really cool. It sits in my living room right now. So the last project that I brought is something I'm currently working on, and it's for the University of San Francisco. My brother is a postdoc there. So he's got a lot of mice, and mice are used in research for all kinds of things. And one of the things that his mice need to do is get rewarded for tasks that they may perform. Basically, in his case, he researches Parkinson's disease. So they will eat some kind of drug, they get a reward, that reward sends a signal. So if he was having some trouble getting that reward to translate into a signal, so he asked me to develop something that would do that. So he sent me home with those parameters. Just go make me something that will give me a signal for my mice. And he gave me this as kind of an inspiration piece. So this is a breadboard. I just sent him the prototype, so I don't have anything to show you guys, except for this is my first step. I just breadboarded it. And so this is the beam break. Basically, the mouse will go in here, and it lights up LED. Is anyone here doing that, beam break?
I don't think so.
No. We may have. No.
Just put your finger. You can just put your finger in there.
Yeah.
It's ready. Yeah.
People did it last year, though, right?
Yes.
With the alarm system.
Yes. Yeah. They made their own beam break though. They didn't have. It wasn't. I'm assuming that's like the makings for an encoder.
It's a transmitter and emitter.
Is it all in one package or
No.
Oh, so yeah,
No,
we did something very similar last
yeah.
year. Similar.
I just used discrete. Well, also because there's a form factor, so I couldn't
Gotta be
use.
custom.
I would have bought. Yeah. I mean, whenever there is something that I can buy, I will just buy it. And I love seeing what you guys are doing, like the XD stuff. Like when I started doing engineering, that kind of stuff didn't exist, so I was just building it all from scratch. And I mean, definitely, if it exists, I would just buy it and learn how to do the next step. So that's a quote that I like very much, and this is what I think that engineers
Yeah.
are. Guys, this is so
Who's got questions? Anyone?
So for the mice, the neuroscience aspect, are you making some sort of electronic component that notices when it gets some sort of like pleasurable sensation or something? Or like
Yes,
how's that working?
His part of it,
Mhm.
his machine, he has another machine that's made by a company that actually I can't remember the name of it. Some machine. And the mouse gets some kind of reward. And as it gets this reward by going into this spot and breaking the beam. So
Oh, okay, I see.
yeah, so the mouse breaks the beam.
So it's like to send data back to the computer?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then not shown on here, I have a Cat5 connector and a USB connector, and that's it's not exactly, I wouldn't call it as much as data. It's yes, my beam got brick.
Okay, yeah. So it's like a Boolean, essentially? Just like a 1 or a 0? Like the beam is
yeah,
brick.
Boolean, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that sends back to another machine. And so hopefully it will work. I mean, I just sent it, so now he has to see my thing interface with his machine.
Okay, cool.
And he's in California, so I imagine we'll go back and forth.
Oh, so it's sending
fine.
over Wi-Fi or something? Or over the internet?
I made the device here in New York, and
Oh, so you're just working
shipped it
together?
to him in California. We figure by October we should have it figured out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, that can't be the most interesting thing.
I got a question. Have you ever built anything that's worked totally on the first try? attention, everyone?
No, actually, no, not at all. And I've been building stuff, not necessarily engineering stuff, for many, many years. And people would, like, a long time ago, they'd be like, oh, that's just the way things are with you. You know, you always have to build one thing, and then the second one is a lot better. And as I've gotten older and more experienced, I've noticed that everybody needs to build it once, twice, or 3 times, or sometimes more. Like the cell phone thing I've been working on for months. I'm on maybe my 5th prototype now. And it's a little hard to get that far along and be like, oh, wow, where does all this time go? There's so much other things to build. Yes.
Is it hard being a female engineer?
Yes. Yes.
Why?
I think it won't be hard for you. Because I think at your age, at this generation, I think it is much more accepted. I work with a lot of men in their 50s, and they have not had women engineers typically in the workplace. So I think you're lucky because it's becoming, or it is much more accepted. I noticed that it's fine around engineers who are, say, under 30. It's not fine around engineers over 30. And I don't want to discourage you. Actually, I love engineering. Like, it's the best. And you definitely, you have a lot more opportunity as a woman, too. It's much easier to get a job. You're a weirdo. People want to talk to you. They're like, oh. And I used to tell my guy friends who would have trouble getting jobs to maybe don't put your full name, put an initial, A period, something. Maybe they think you're a female. I was getting so many interviews simply because of me. So, but once in the job, yeah, it's difficult.
What is the prototyping process like? Like, do you have to build your own like circuits on a circuit board in order to make your cell phone receiver, for instance?
That's my prototyping process.
Mm-hmm.
I don't typically use any kind of simulation software.
Oh, I was saying, like, do you have to? How do you go about building, like, for example, a circuit like that?
They're all different, but like this one that I have on the breadboard going around, that was built on a breadboard first, proved out, and that actually worked the first time. The proving out worked the first time. Getting something to work on a PCB board that I could show to anybody else took me like 4 days. I had something in backwards for like 4 days. It was a total waste of time. So I'll make something typically on a breadboard first, then I'll solder it. I'll leave the thing on the breadboard so I can refer back to it. Then I'll solder it down, and then I'll draw a PCB board and have it manufactured.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. I was wondering, like, how one would do it by themselves. So you just go send it to a manufacturer?
I do.
That's cool.
And they're pretty inexpensive to have manufactured in prototype quantity.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you just make a drawing of it?
There's a number of free software. I would recommend Eagle. Which I'm recommending it because SparkFun, we're all familiar with SparkFun. They have such a good tutorial for how to get started, and it's free for
That's great,
students. And it's actually free until you sell it. So, and the tutorial really gets you going.
Yeah.
Plug, I also have a video tutorial series for it.
Okay, cool.
You have video?
I just put up the first video Eagle tutorial a week ago, and I have another one coming out this week.
Oh, cool.
So.
I just switched to KiCad 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it seems to be somewhat of a trend, but I still like Eagle.
I think I'm liking Eagle better, but KiCad does 4-layer boards.
I do 4-layer boards in Eagle. Oh, but I pay for it. Yeah.
Right. And yeah, I have a $70 license.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I will ask, what do you think the most helpful thing was for you to get into your college? What was the most helpful thing to get your first job?
I'll answer the first job first. That's make projects. I mean, every job interview I went to, I had drawings, and they looked like crap because I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I just would draw stuff, like basically napkin drawings that I put on my nice table. So I showed up with a portfolio. That was really important, showing up with projects, being interested. Like, there's no point in going after a job that you're not interested in. So I look at companies that did things that I wanted to do. Like, specifically, I wanted to do equipment manufacturing that was like robotics. So, yeah, if you come with props, it really works. And as far as getting into college, I went to a very small college, and it was very easy to get in. I think college is probably, I'm sorry, I don't have anything. I think colleges lay out what their criteria are getting, the big grades and the SAT. Oh.
How do you come up with ideas for what to build?
I personally have too many. They just come all the time. But a formula way to do it would be to picture what you want to happen on the outlook, right? Like, so maybe, who was LEQ?
Oh.
That was you, right?
Yeah.
And you were talking about the snake game,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, picturing, I want to have this game. Like, that's your vision of what you want to see on the outside. Or I want to have this app that does this. And then you kind of work backwards from there. But ideas come from lots of places. This afternoon I'm going to a consumer electronics show. There will be things like bubblegum dispensers, smoke detectors, like weird stuff that cameras, all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm sure just from being there I will be inspired. So you have to open up your mind and go to things that aren't necessarily a part of your job, part of your life, part of your school, just different things. Yes.
So, when you're thinking of ideas, do you look for something that you don't have or something that you need, or do you just have a bunch of ideas in your head and choose what to make?
The first way that you described is probably, it's better to make things that is needed rather than things that are not needed. But personally, there's a menu in my mind, so I'll just pick something. But typically, there are two components. There's an input and an output. The output is my vision, and then the input is what triggers that thing. Like the radiation, I want to have music. Radiation triggers music. Cell phone triggers light. There's a common theme there. Anybody else?
Do you think that when experimenting with like a new technology that you've never used before, if it's like, do you think it's better to start with like fun little projects and then build up to something that's actually serious with the technology, like the Geiger counter that you were talking about?
I think it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get discouraged easily, it doesn't matter how you get there. But if you have a kid or something that shows you the map, that's of course a lot easier. A lot of times I think about projects as if there is no learning value, sometimes I'm messing around on a computer and I'll have some trouble downloading something. And I've had bosses say to me, oh, why do you guys spell technical? And I see that there's no value in learning how to specifically download something. Like I asked you, where's the USB stick? That's my personal thing. Like that isn't a learning thing. But if it's something you're going to learn from, then I would say, yeah, go for the hard project.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. She'll be around for the next couple minutes. Otherwise,